Hey, we are live from the Hive. It is Thursday night, not a usual night for me to be going live, but I did work with what we could make work, and I wanted to get. I mainly wanted to get G in here because I wanted to see his facial responses to the stuff that we're going to be exploring today. It's mud fossils. What is your experience with mud fossils, John?
Well, it's quite limited. I mean, I've talked to some people who think that there are giant dragons like in the sides of mountains or like in the shapes and everything like that.
Mhm.
Everything just seems to be pareidolia,
Yeah.
just that they see a shape that they think of in their mind and it becomes that. And
Yeah.
so that
Pareidolia is the free space on your bingo card tonight, everybody, because that's the word of the day, and we're gonna
yeah.
we're gonna see that.
Yeah, I imagine that there's going to be a lot of that in this video tonight.
So I used to talk to a lot of these guys when I did the call-in show, The Perspective, which may or may there's rumors about returning, but anyway, I know you do a lot of call-in shows and stuff. Do you ever get any of these guys calling in, the Mud Fossil guys?
Oh, I'm sorry, my headset was cutting out. What did you say?
Do you ever get any of these Mud Fossil characters calling into the call-in shows that you're on?
Not really. I wish I had more of those caliber of people to call in and talk to me because it's always so very interesting to be able to sit there and actually talk to somebody that believes in this stuff. I've had one person try to convince me that apparently, what was it? It was like something about the serial numbers on money correspond to your birthday, and that means the government literally owns you, or something like that.
I've
Or
talked
no,
to people
that's how
like that
much you're
before.
literally worth, is what it is.
I
And
think the time conspiracy guy was the one who had that money, the symbolism on the money, if I remember correctly. He was like he was talking about how certain periods of time, certain expanses of time didn't exist. So there's some wild ideas that people get out there based on just the most fringe of evidence, and that's what this channel that we're going to be looking at is all about. I'd never heard of them, but they have almost 20,000 subscribers. So that's a lot more than me. And their whole channel is about basically this mountain or these uh, certain mountains, because I think he talks about more than one little range that are supposed to be a dead elephant, a titan elephant. That's
mhm.
just gigantic and monstrous. So let me pull this channel up so we can kind of get a look at what this guy's all about. Here, let me share screen here. I did send this to GE, but I think that he wanted to give me a genuine response. So we're gonna that's what we're gonna get. So let's look at some of these titles here, John.
Okay.
All right. Are you able to see? Yeah, looks good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I
So
can see.
we got yeah, seen on the shoulders of Titans. They're aware. I mean, this is self-aware right here. Let's talk periodolia right there. But what we're mainly talking about is this here. It's Montgo. It's in
Uh huh.
Spain, and that is where we're going to be visiting because that is the focus of a lot of these videos. And where's the first one at? I had it pulled up here. See, I go scrolling all through these and I lose my place. Petrified Titan organs. Yeah, is that the one? Oh, here we go. Here we go. Unveiling a
Part
Titan,
one.
part one, right here. We're just going to jump right into it, okay?
There are four parts to this. Oh my
Yeah, we're
god.
not going to
Okay.
get anywhere near that. I haven't even got into the part three.
Yeah.
It starts to lose you after a while, but I think we can have fun a little bit before it starts to get like,
Okay.
All right, are you
I'm
ready?
good to go. Yes.
All right, going full screen. So I only got the one screen. It's very dramatic.
Yeah.
I think this is the angle that he's talking about. It looks like more like a cephalopod to me, though.
Yeah. Oh, I actually I can't hear it through my browser. I hear it through your mic faintly.
Is that any louder?
Not really.
Can the audience hear it? Hold on. We will troubleshoot the tech issues. Hold on. I got an idea here of what I think might have been the issue. So I'm going to stop sharing, share. I think there's a box I needed to check. There we go. Tell me if you hear it now.
Hello,
Okay.
and welcome to Unveiling a Titan, the first of several videos in a series.
Can you hear it?
I hear it a little bit better. I don't know if that's coming through your mic or if it's coming through the actual video. Is the video like really, really low to begin with?
I don't know. I got it turned pretty high. I got it turned all the way up now. Let me see my computer settings for the volume. I can turn those up.
In which I hope to provide conclusive proof that Titans actually existed, or at the very least,
I can hear it pretty well now.
Spark curiosity. This is a famous mountain on the east coast of Spain, in the Costa Blanca, that's called Montgo. It's also known as the elephant. So you can see the shape of the head here, the upper back, and then tapering off. And in fact, there's a plateau here that's higher than the town in this area that looks a lot like a trunk that's been extended.
What?
So, how many? I don't know if you've ever seen a lot of fossilized elephants or a lot of remains of elephants, or even currently dead elephants, but the trunk is one of the first things to decompose generally.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, it's really weird to me. This whole idea. For one thing, he's obviously like making up that this looks like an elephant. I mean, I guess I can. It definitely looks like some kind of like large, I guess maybe shape of an animal, but it kind of reminds me of like rock formations that look like pachyderms, like just I can't remember what movie I saw it in, but just general shapes, pareidolia, obviously. That's the free space tonight.
Well, and there's like you mentioned, the people who look at satellite photos and things, because this was a satellite image, we dropped it down. They'll look at that and pick out like a serpentine shape, and you have to understand that in nature that's it's a very common way for a sediment to be laid down, isn't like a serpentine formation, because it's laid down by wind and water.
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of moves in that manner.
Right. And I don't understand. Another thing I don't, just going right into this, maybe he'll explain, probably not. I don't understand why they think that the organic matter of a Titan transforms into like dirt or earth,
especially earth with geological layers in it, because I see geological layers when I look at this image right here.
So, definitely.
Yeah,
I mean, very obviously there's geological layers, and so I mean, I don't understand that process. I also don't understand why, if the trunk, which I would suppose is one of the first things to rot away, I guess. I don't know why that would stick around long enough to like build a mound up or something. I mean, I don't know.
The same ecological forces would act on or potentially act on an organism this size as they would on an organism normal size, presumably. So we would expect to see bone remains. We expect to see for something this size. I don't even know what kind of sediment would lay down in something this size. We would see the maybe like femur bones and things like that would be what we'd expect to find in the fossil record. I mean, we could find skulls for sure. Finding everything articulated like this with the back and everything from that old, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
I think another biological issue with the whole idea of Titans is like how, and if it's a pachyderm, like if it's supposed to be like some kind of giant elephant, I mean, you got to consider like, well, how would they have been able to oxygenate their bodies enough to be able to function? Because I know that's one of the big problems with having large animals in general in the past is having enough oxygen in the air. Now, I know that there were huge bugs in the distant past, but I mean, the reason why there were huge bugs is because the oxygen content in our atmosphere was much higher than it is now, and so they were able to thoroughly oxygenate, like they were able to get enough oxygen
through spiracles. Respiration through spiracles is kind of problematic when you get to a larger size and have less surface area for the oxygen to bond with the blood vessels on the inside of the spiracles. But and it does there's a limit to that too. I mean, even with that within the oxygen levels within how big a organism, especially a tetrapod, can get, the way that we're supported and how much of our biomass we need for organs and things like that. Sauropods, I think, are reaching the limits, and they had to compensate by having huge air pockets in throughout their skeletal structure to help them support that weight.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we were like a minute and 20 seconds into this. We're already just yeah. Oh. We get it from some different angles here. Only one angle does it really. Can I see the elephant here? I can see the elephant from this angle. Other angles, to me, it looks like an octopus.
For about years now, I've been inside of the eye on numerous occasions. There's several other caves that I've also been in, but it's really only been for the last year that I've been looking at this mountain with different eyes, and I was exposed to some new ideas that caused me to look at it differently, and I began gathering.
I'm going to speed him up a little bit.
I've taken lots of photographs and videos. I've been in places that I probably shouldn't have been, and even injured myself a couple of times. About a year ago,
because these guys are really into this. They go there's caves in here that they go explore. It gets they go in depth with this theory.
Yeah.
I got exposed to the idea of Titans. It wasn't the first time as a kid I was exposed to the mythology, Greek mythologies, and watched this movie, The Clash of the Titans, saw the Kraken get turned to stone by the Medusa's head.
Me too. I love those movies. I love Ray Harryhausen and all the stop motion animation they did back then. Really cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think the movies were great too, but I mean,
that's why they had to do them in miniature, because this is not really realistic for organisms to move this way on that scale. It's just not biologically or physically, like the laws of physics are not going to allow for things like Godzilla and kaiju and stuff like that to exist. Something called the square cube law.
And I ran across a couple of videos by Mudfossil University talking about the idea that
there's your catalyst right there.
Yeah, I really hate that channel.
I have a friend, Orgay343. If you're not subscribed to Orgay, go out and subscribe to him. He's got a whole bunch of content that tackles Mudfossil University, and also goes over in Indiana Joe Hubbard.
Faster than we realized. Also looking at the idea that there was probably a worldwide flood that involved a great deal of mud that caused lots of...
What are we looking at here?
Full representation of biblical idea, partial representation of the biblical idea.
Okay.
The biblical record. I have no idea what this is supposed to represent.
You know,
this all
animal seed saved, human seed saved.
Who's saving some human seed over there?
How was it harvested? How was the animal seeds harvested? Is what I want to know. I think we might have some human or animal rights violations going on. I don't know, but this birds SKNT out.
Oh, birds sent out.
Oh, okay. So, all right. I think that this is the stuff like the flood narrative, right? These are the things in the from the mythologies that and these are the mythologies, and he's saying that all these things are consistent among these mythologies. I think I see what's going on, that all of the Egyptians had in their mythology favored family and are provided and all that. But yeah, I don't know how much this holds up. You have to go through this with a fine-tooth comb. I know a lot of.
This is like information across multiple disciplines, I would think, or at least multiple different areas of like anthropology, maybe.
Yeah, there's always that young Earth creationist claim, though, that all the ancient cultures had a flood myth. Some of them did, but their flood myths were all varied and different, and there were, some of them had like floods of beer and floods of blood, and it's not the same kind of mythology. All right, we'll move past this.
Encased and then eventually fossilized.
I think this is the same kind of thing.
Petrified Titans video, which was very fascinating, and he made a pretty interesting case, I felt, for the possibility that Titans actually existed, and that was a real surprise.
All right, you can plug your friends later. We're going to talk about.
It's called Chief's Peak, and it looks a lot like an Indian lying on its back, and I was always fascinated by the resemblance, but it never really occurred to me that maybe it was. So I started seeing photographs like this, and
yeah. Okay, so this is definitely periodolia.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It's only going to look like this from certain angles. You have to get the lighting when the lighting's just right, from just the right angle. These kind of rock formations, you can find faces in them and stuff. Just like the stuff they see on Mars in the pictures. Same sort of nonsense.
Well, and so like it doesn't make sense, the whole idea of like petrified organic material,
especially soft tissue,
specifically soft tissue, because like this right here, like obviously the nose would decompose. That's the word I was looking for earlier. That nose would decompose before it could petrify, definitely.
And the argument you'll see them make is directed towards like calcification. Like they'll say, "Oh, there's these springs where you can drop a teddy bear in there and calcify." That's not the same process as fossilization.
I think I heard that from Kent Hovind.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they get the fossilized boot with the foot in it or whatever, and that's kind of creepy. But but we can look at these rocks and look inside of them. I mean, we can see that there's not organs inside this. You crack this open, there's not a fossilized brain in there. It's just not going to be it's not going to be what you find.
That's an interesting point you bring up there, because I mean, if the facial features would have petrified or calcified or whatever, it wouldn't. I mean, you would have to assume that the internal organs would also be go through the same process,
mineralized in some way. Yeah.
And you would be able to find the same structures, but I mean, you don't find that.
Right. Yeah. It's just not what it's periodolia. We already got that checked off on the bingo card though. So let's move forward. Okay.
It definitely sparked my imagination. This is Paul Bunyan with his buddy Blue, I believe, big ox.
Yep.
It goes that the Grand Canyon was formed by him dragging his axe behind him. He used to go around North America cutting down gigantic trees with his axe.
Oh yeah, we did the big trees last time on Live from the Hive. There's they think that the mesas and plateaus and everything are trees. Everything that looks like a tree, it's a tree. If it's
and the Grand Canyon was carved by Paul Bunyan, dragging his axe behind him.
Right. Because it's in the mythology. It's got to be true, right?
I mean,
he presented that as like evidence. Like, yeah, there's legends about Dude.
So maybe there's some truth to that tale.
Mm.
So one of the first things a skeptic will think when they look at these kinds of pictures is that people are suffering from something known as...
Well,
That's Lord of the Rings.
that was freaking Lord of the Rings. Yeah. And those weren't even as big as what he's claiming this guy is.
Right.
Yeah.
A dragon or
It is pareidolia.
or something, and obviously that's not really in the clouds.
See, it's like they'll accept the pareidolia as a thing, except for when they have it. Then it's not. Then it's not. It's not a real thing.
So it's easy to make the same mistake when you're looking at these kinds of photographs. But in J Dreamer's video, I started thinking a little differently when I photographs like this.
Here's an elephant, and I see Orgay343s out there in the live chat now. I was name dropping you earlier, hon. It's talking about your Mudfossil university videos. But here we have this isn't rocks though. These are elephants. If you can't tell the difference between an elephant and a rock, I don't know what you got going on in your head.
Well, yeah, and
last 8 years, and when I saw these images,
look at that.
Like, how does it make sense for them to petrify this way? Like, I guess I don't understand. Like,
Milwaukee and flood magic.
Yeah, it's definitely magical thinking, that's for sure. Because like, I don't know how, wherever this is at, I don't know how that landscape has changed, but I guess they would have had to have petrified before the water flooded the area, and then the water flooded the area afterwards. I mean, I don't know.
So I think when the springs of the Great Deep opened up and the water sprang forth, maybe there's a lot of calcium in it. And it just froze froze all the giants in their places.
Never mind that the amount of water that would have had to have sprung forth would have like vaporized, in the process, and totally blown everything off of our planet. Just don't even think about that. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, the heat problem. Yeah, don't think about any of it too hard, John.
What is this supposed to show? Right, I guess
that's clearly washed out, but I guess he thinks that it's I don't know. Didn't this where it eroded? I mean, what does it have to?
Maybe.
And that should prove that there's no, because look, no, that was good. That's actually good. This is what we were just talking about. Let me go back to that. Where was it? The one with the washout. Damn it, that's too far back. He's going through them pretty fast, though. Let's see. That one, yeah. So if this were an actual organism, like it's in the picture on the left, he's making like, okay, this is the trunk, and there's the eye and the ear and everything, because it has that visual effect, right? So when this broke open, you should see what looks like the inside of an elephant skull, right? You would see the skull cap and the brain case, and maybe some vertebrae sticking out here, because this would be where the neck was, because this is obviously the piece that was allegedly the ear is still there. All right, let's see.
Oh, so that must mean that it's not really a titan. It was pareidolia. Is that he was just establishing his methodology there?
Okay, I get you then. So he wasn't claiming that was a. Okay, so we're on the same page then.
Yeah.
Might actually be fossilized elephants.
No, none of them are fossilized elephants. Not a single one of them.
I mean, the bones would have been fossilized, not like the entirety of the elephant.
Yeah, you can't. You're not going to mineralize mass heaps of soft tissue like that. Especially not in an environment where bacteria already exist, because they're going to start breaking it down as soon as it dies.
Yeah.
Geology is based on erroneous thinking, and we need to start to revisit these different ologies. And
that one's kind of cool, though. I wouldn't mind going out in a kayak out there.
Yeah.
The last year and a half since I first got exposed to this idea, a lot of other interesting topics have come along. The idea that maybe our entire historical timelines have been manipulated and large segments of time have been injected. A lot of people are studying the works of Anatoly Fomenko, who makes those suppositions. The topic of star forts is incredibly fascinating. These gigantic star complexes that are found on every continent all around the world. the lost civilization of Tartar.
Those are just
I mean,
pre-designed
You-
cities, aren't they? I mean, that's like, oh, we want.
yeah, I mean that's human designed cities. Like those are
What do they call that? A
what you
spoke
would
pattern fortress. There's a name for it, but I can't even think of what it is now. They do really good when you put them on a mountainside.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It's been a long time since I had a history class.
Everywhere there's people, there are star designs. How are you going to explain that, atheist?
Yeah. that breaks the internet right there. Stars means giant elephants.
Arya, which is it's mind-boggling, really, to consider that the largest empire in the history of humanity is something that isn't even touched on in our history books. And it's easily provable. There's a plethora of information out there, ancient maps and photographic evidence, all sorts of things that suggest that our understanding of our history has been...
Ooh, was that the ice wall? The famed ice wall of Antarctica?
Yeah.
This is actually sad. We see this. This is like I don't think this is St. Louis, but St. Louis has some mounds that the cities kind of just took a big old bite of. Cahokia is the Indian mounds. It was like the center of, it was the population center of North America up until the plague hit when Columbus arrived and such. But there's really cool mounds and stuff all over the Midwest that you can visit, and a lot of them have been destroyed, unfortunately, and they have been industrialized like this.
There are even people who suppose that giant trees existed that were, along the likes of Avatar, and a lot of this ties back into the mud flood idea, which is that there was once a major flood that swept across the entire.
We keep going through the same slides over and over again. I swear this is the one we just looked at.
World.
The whole mud flood thing is just so fucking ridiculous.
That's how I got on the topic originally.
Yeah,
I'll just give you a little overview
it's
of my plan for this video series.
Noah's Ark, right?
I'll just show you this right off the bat.
It just
I think that's part of it.
The Noah's Ark was there was a big flood to destroy the Nephilim and all the monsters that came from all the horny angels.
This is fucking horny angels.
Horny angels ruined everything, I swear. Keep it in your pants, Michael.
Coincidences that I've compiled, and if you're interested in reading this, you can pause the video and do that.
Well, let's look at a couple of these. Let's see. Large canyon found between legs.
That sounds like an insult.
Let's see. Collapsed mountains or collapse of mountain at breathing hole would be Skull's weak point. The nose, but he just showed us some petrified noses on some different rock formations and stuff earlier. I don't know. Plateau filled with limestone fragments. Trabecular bones. What's that? What's a trabecular bone?
I don't know. Not even Word knows what he's trying to spell.
Yeah, that's not something I'm familiar with. Limestone channels. That's what they do too. They'll look at like the how the sediment has inclusions and things in it, or the sediment will flow between different layers of other sorts of rock, and they'll say, oh, these are veins and things like that, because the sediment was carried by water and laid down, carried by wind and laid down, pushed into the cracks.
Right. And also, why do they think the bones are limestone?
Right, limestone's a very distinct formation, right? It's made from
Is limestone, would that form as part of the fossilization process? Now, that's outside of my area of expertise.
Yeah, I mean, I outside of my area too. We do have a geologist in the live chat though, so they can tell us if you're still out there. Orge, is fossilization in limestone actually possible? I can't think of any fossil finds that I'm familiar with where the material was limestone, but I'm not going to say it's impossible because I don't know enough about it. Limestone seems like an awful fragile material to fossilize something in, but for something to be able to retain fossilization in anyway. Like it'd be
Well, I
easily-
mean, looking at what limestone basically is it's sedimentary rock, almost made entirely of fossils.
Mhm. Yeah, it's the shells of the different little sea creatures from the early Paleozoic. Basically, yeah, they created a whole ecological area by leaving their little skeletons behind to be compressed and subducted. It's a pretty cool process, actually.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm noticing a lack of like giant elephant bones as being part of what makes limestone, because it also says over here that limestone is usually a biological sedimentary rock forming from the accumulation of shell, coral, algal, fecal, and other organic debris.
Yeah. It's the calcite from their shells and kind of broke down and into a sedimentary layer. There was like the what they call the White Cliffs of Dover, where you can see the chalk layers. And that's organisms too. Limestone. Yeah. Anyway, but they'll make all kinds of wild claims about it.
And so when I started looking into this mountain, I decided I would look at it from a scientific perspective. I have a degree in medicine, and I studied.
He's going to do a scientific perspective for us, John.
A lot of
Okay.
histology. And histology is the study of tissues. And the interesting thing about studying histology when you're looking at a mountain that's 5 kilometers long is that you don't need a microscope because you're so small that you are the microscope. So
And it's not tissues; it's stones and
Yeah.
I've been going around for the last year taking tissue samples in the forms of videos and photographs, and I'll be sharing those in this video series. This is the list of what I'm planning on doing. So in this video, I'm going to do an overview of the mountain.
unveiling titans, or unveiling a titan. Deep look into the eye. We're gonna.
What does geology have to say?
And in the next video, I'm going to take a deep look into the eye of Mudfossil. You'll see the eye in just a moment. And in the third video, I plan on going deep into the ear as well. And the fourth video, if you're still with me for that, that'll probably be broken up into several parts because it's a big topic.
No, we're not gonna make it to the fourth video.
Studying the rocks and how they relate to the mountain and how they relate to fossilized tissue. And then I hope to do a fifth video that is looking at what is the official story behind the mountain, and maybe even perhaps interview a geologist and talk to some of the people who really know this mountain. It's a national park, and there's a lot of mainstream study that's been done. And then where I'll go from there is a mystery at this point. So again, if you're interested in this topic, I'm not going to go in depth into the whole fossilization.
Mudfossil University.
Girolamo Sagato in the 1800s in Italy, who was known to be able to petrify human flesh. So this guy's technique died with him. And
Petrified human flesh. This is like a mummification process, though. This doesn't mean he's turning them into stone.
Yeah, I don't understand why he thinks this is turning them into stone.
They look mummified to me. And this, there's been throughout history, there's been a lot of different preservation methods used by a lot of different cultures throughout history to a varying degree of success. There's been a lot of different variety of natural preservation too. Places like the Atacama Desert, you can get results like this from a corpse just a couple hundred years old. It'll be all the way to several thousand years old. It'll stay looking exactly the same because the climate there is very stable, very hot, very dry. Keeps things like beef jerky, basically.
And painful process to rebuild it, I suppose. But he was able to fossilize flesh, and obviously it didn't take thousands of years like we're told the fossilization process.
I don't think
Apparently-
they were fossilized, friend.
No, they weren't fossilized, but I don't know why he had to like petrify a set of titties.
Immortal titties now for all eternity.
Okay,
There was more Lord of the Rings, I swear.
so let's go into the mountain here.
Yes.
So obviously from this side is the side that it looks most like an elephant. You've got the shape that I already talked about in the opening there, and you saw some of the clips from the opening video that will give you a little.
I don't see an elephant.
It's interestingly placed. Closer to it.
I might see a snuffleupagus, not an
It's a
elephant.
snuffleupagus.
Yeah.
I think a snuffleupagus is a little bit more I think you got a better chance of it being a snuffleupagus.
Yeah, this was clearly Jim Henson's first design that he discarded after.
The anatomy of an elephant's skull we'll look at in just a moment, but I've been inside the
See,
eye.
and note how narrow. Could you see how narrow this was? It's not as
Yeah.
full like an elephant's head would be, or a pachyderm's skull would be.
There are
Yeah.
caves along here. There's a cave here, which is very interestingly placed. But first, let's back up and just look at the mountain as a whole. So,
Yes,
if we look at it from this side, most people can imagine that it looks like an elephant.
most people can see geological layers and the way that subduction works with this. Can you see my mouse when I move it across here?
Yeah.
Okay, so this here when this layer up here raises up, this back here is subducting underneath it, right? So this is actually the soil and stuff that fell off of this area here when it rose up. This rock is rising up out of this landscape, not it didn't fall down into it. He gets pretty wild here in just a second though, but let's admire the geological column that we can see present in this rock face for just a moment before we start pretending it's an elephant again.
The interesting thing is from this angle, if we look at it, you can see it looks like a head here, and there's even a
look how narrow it is. Does he not understand how broad an elephant is? I've ridden an elephant. Have you ever ridden an elephant?
I have when I was a little kid. So it's been a while, but
back when I would go to a circus. I don't do circuses now, but I remember riding an elephant, and they're really wide. You gotta I was a little kid. I mean, I was basically like sitting on a flat surface. It was so wide. But yeah, these guys can't see curvature either. So what are we gonna deal with that?
Also, where are the ears?
Right? Were those not flash fossilized either?
Cutout, right where you would expect the neck to be. So the head ends, neck, and then this would be the shoulder. When you see it from
elephants, don't really have much of a neck either. It's really just their barrel chest moves right into their head, just rests right on their shoulders.
This angle becomes more evident. Now the interesting thing is from this side, you got the same thing, another cutout here. So from above, it really does look like an elephant's head turned slightly to the right, with cutouts for the neck on both sides. And this would be obviously.
I'm not seeing it. Do you see it, John?
No, I don't. I mean, I've got some pictures of elephants like pulled up.
Yeah, just like compare.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not seeing the same thing that he's seeing here because, like, I mean, that basic like how the mountain looks is not at all how fucking elephants are built, I guess.
Is he saying the ridge is like the spine? Because look how jagged that is.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, and I mean they do have a little bit of spine that kind of pops up, maybe, but I mean it's definitely not like that prominent and not.
Does it go in a zigzag pattern though? Is the main thing. This one's going whoosh whoosh whoosh.
I mean that elephant must have had scoliosis or something.
Yeah, that's probably why it died. That makes sense. They figured it out. Probably because the square cube log couldn't support its weight. So collapsed. Never stood a chance.
The spine.
Yeah, he does say that's the spine.
This is a deep canyon, and it's perfectly placed for the separation between two legs, one here and one here. And I'm not sure
it's his butt crack.
Of the leg, or
if that's the elephant's butt crack right there.
Underneath this mound, or what's happened exactly there. But as we look around on this side, you can really see the pattern of what look like ribs. And there's
no.
No, that does not look like. I mean, that looks like erosion.
Yeah, due to natural processes and maybe even some man-made, because I believe these are housing developments down here at the bottom.
Yeah,
I think that we got people moving on up the hillside there.
And I mean, like from this angle right here, it just looks like a mountain. Like I don't even know why he's trying to play this off as like, you know, anything
from this angle, from seeing it at this position, at this angle with the light hitting it just this way. This looks like an eye socket. That's his whole argument, I think. Well, yeah. Let's see if he gets anywhere.
You can see the skirt of the mountain on this side is literally about twice the size of the skirt on this side. and that's because there's been a lot more runoff and erosion there.
He just acknowledged that his ribs are erosion. He just acknowledged that.
Yeah.
Did you? Yeah.
Continue around, looking at the front of the head, you might be thinking, well, that doesn't look much like an elephant at all,
No.
because this area here has all collapsed, and we can see that when we look from above. There's a major runoff here going down, and geologists who study this mountain have actually talked about this section of the mountain being particularly interesting because there's what's known as a synclinal here. So this is proof that this entire section of the mountain has collapsed, and that's an interesting thing. I'll show you why here.
It doesn't mean it's a skull, though.
Anatomy picture. So,
Oh, good. We're getting some elephant bone pictures. Good, good. Let's look at this. Let's look at this for a second here.
Okay, yeah, and so like if you'll notice, like the eye cavity for that particular elephant seems to be quite larger than the giant Titan one.
Yeah, look at this. That's the eye cavity. This is the this is where the nerves are for the trunk. They come out right here. That's why it's so big, because they have to have so many nerves to control that long trunk. That, you know, generally when we find an elephant fossilized, there's no actual trunk, and we'll learn a lot about what type of trunk it has by the position of this nerve entrance. Just something I learned while researching this a little bit. So, but we would expect to see even if there was soft tissue preservation, we would expect to see things like the shoulder girdle here sticking out prominently. This is a heavy bone. These bones here and all the leg bones would be very prominent. You see the ribs; they are not like I don't know what the terminology is for it, where the ribs get longer really fast as it goes down the body cavity, because the elephants, I mean, this whole area here is soft tissue. So that when we look at what he called the ribs up there, it was not the right angle for the proportions for the body in order for that to be an actual elephant.
Right, and if you'll notice the ribs here, you know, on the slant. I don't know if this is what you just said. I was just thinking that the ribs at the slant there do not match what he said were ribs.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That, yeah, the angle, this angle here going down, is not what we see. Yeah. Anyway,
if you think of the skeleton or the elephant is lying on its stomach, then obviously this part would be tilted back, and that's really what we see when we look at the side. Got this point here. The head and the upper back are very close to each other. This was tilted upward. This is a mammoth.
So wait a second. This elephant died with his head tilted upward and turned to the right, and then also his ass was like shifted weird. Like his body was shifted one way and his ass was shifted another way.
Yeah, because of his scoliosis, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Defeated by the square cube law once again, because there's a limit to how big these organisms can get.
Yeah.
And an elephant skeleton. So mammoths and elephants very similar, but there are wide variations in the skeletal structure of both mammoths, elephants, and the skulls vary dramatically from one species to another.
Nothing about your mountainside looks like any kind of elephantine shape, though. It doesn't even look like a tetrapod shape to me. I mean,
right.
Oh, but if you put giant tusk on it.
I like how we put little horns on it.
Yeah.
Where are the horns? Like, what happened to them? You're trying to tell me that the skin and the skull and the ribs and everything like that were able to survive like the millions of years or whatever, but yet the horns just disappeared.
Right. The ivory, the ivory trade, they were gone in like a week.
Oh, obviously.
When we're looking at this. Now, the elephant will go, I see it as lying on its stomach. And
see how big the head is in proportion to not the head. I shouldn't call it the head because it's not a freaking head, it's a mountain. The area he's referring to is the head, how big it is in proportion to the body. I want you to take note of that when we go back. The elephants have huge barrel-shaped bodies. Their heads are about like a third the size of their body. They're not. Their bodies are massive.
Right.
Look at an elephant from the inside. This is known as the viscera. All the organs, these are going to be soft. And so all of that is going to flatten out. You'll see that in a second here. So this is an elephant corpse that's rotting away, and you can see how things are.
Yeah, let's look at this for a second. I'm sorry if anybody's got a sick stomach or anything like this. This is just tapophony, how animals decompose. It's kind of an interesting field of science, and it helps us understand a lot of what we find in the fossil record as well. Because you can see how bones articulate naturally through the natural stages of decomposition. And this is exactly why something like his mountain wouldn't retain itself. See how much this is flattened out, and you can see the bones underneath the organism. And soon, very soon, the bacteria and insects and fungus and moss and even plants and other animals are going to just chomp this all down. And this is not going to lay here for long. You can already see the state of decomposition this is already in.
Yeah.
So, all flattened out, but the bone structure is what really remains. Sorry for the awful images if it makes you queasy, but this is important to understand that.
Right, and this looks nothing like either of those images in any way, shape, or form. The trunk was gone on each of those elephants that he just looked at first and foremost.
Right. And he says, and he says that the trunk was flattened out in front of it.
And you notice how these all retain the tusk, and there's no trunk.
Right.
This is a mammoth skull that's been encased in mud, and so if you imagine that on a larger scale, then that may be what we have here.
No, it's not what you have here. It doesn't look anything like it, and you're missing the tusk. The tusk would be the selling point for me. I'd be like, huh, that's interesting. No tusk. No, nothing that resembles tusk or where tusk would have been.
So this is from above, looking at the head shape, the back, and the legs, and I don't know, maybe the right back leg was buried underneath.
Yeah, I mean, none of this is making sense whatsoever because he's like, oh, it kind of looks like an elephant to me, therefore it is an elephant, but it's like, it's way too narrow. He's not explaining why some portions were more preserved than others, even though it's all in the same place.
Why things like the tusk, which are prominent in the fossil record for elephants, are missing from this, but other things like the trunk, which is as far as I know fairly rare in the fossil record, is present.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about elephants though, not when it comes to Snuffleupagus. You can, the sky's the limits on the way you can preserve the trunk, but
more into this in a moment. But this is interesting. So if you look at the eye placement and this muscle here, this is known as the temporalis muscle. Humans have this as well. The eye here, there's a little hole right here, which is very interesting, and the ear hole. Now this is a horrible picture because this elephant's been shot, but you can see with it laying down.
I guess there is kind of a neck there, sort of.
Yeah, but it's not like if the elephant turned its head, you wouldn't see that jutting, that like sharp of an angle, that he was talking about, because I mean the spine's not gonna like snap every time the elephant turns its head.
Right. That was just a weird cutout that he was talking about, saying it was part of the neck area. Mm-hmm. That's what good picture of the neck though.
Out in front, and I believe that's what we're seeing when we're seeing the plateau here, because this is all above this area here below, which is the toe. This is not a gunshot wound. This is actually a gland called the moose gland that's secreting, and when the elephants are in heat.
You ever seen the videos of the elephants that go into a rampage when they get in moose?
Oh no.
Yeah, they freaking wreck places. They destroy villages and kill anybody who gets in their way. You see this. See an elephant with this running down the side of its face. I guess you probably want to give it a wide bit of space.
Yeah.
If they're sexually excited or if they're afraid, they'll secrete from this gland and they get very aggressive, and you don't want to be around them when they're doing that. This picture looks like he's smiling. I like that. Here you can see the head really comes up more. And we
can see some of how the soft tissue is structured on the elephant's head, and why the proportions of his alleged elephant are totally off for what this real organism is. First of all, there's a powerful jaw here. People don't, because of the trunk and all the soft tissue up here, makes it look like this major portion of the head. The jaw is huge and heavy. The jaw is almost as big as the rest of the skull, because they spend a lot of time just chewing and chewing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's more like what you're seeing here.
Here we go. I'll let him talk about it, I guess.
We get into the skulls. This is very interesting because if you look, this is the breathing passage, and this is also where the trunk connects. And it's a huge hole. And if we look again from the front of the mountain,
it's super narrow.
No hole.
This is that area that has collapsed, and I've got lots of pictures and video, and I've hiked on this whole region. This is like a river of jagged rock, this entire area here. So there's clearly been a major collapse of this part of the mountain. And that's exactly where I would expect there to be a collapse. It's right where there's a big, giant cave. That would be the weakest point of the whole structure. Here you've got the ridge line of the skull. This has been maintained, but this is all collapsed.
But isn't he saying that other hole is the eye?
Yeah.
That doesn't line up.
And I mean, the shape of it just doesn't make sense. Like, he has this one little section that seems like an eye, but for some reason the eyeball has rotted away and not petrified or calcified or whatever. But yet the rest of it, because I mean, he's talking about like the rest of the head, which would include like all the skin and fat and other pieces that would, shape the elephant head instead of having just the skull there. And I mean, I don't know. This person hurts my brain.
Yeah, Richard said, the person in this video you are reviewing is obviously exercising pareidolia, but what is he asserting overall? He's a mud fossil guy. So mud fossils is basically that there were giants and monsters before the flood of Noah, and that they were flash preserved in the flood in various poses and things, and there were giant trees and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. That's his claim. So if you're just dropping in, that's what's going on here. Shall we continue?
Yeah.
So that's the breathing passage. Here is the eye socket, and this is again the temporalis muscle, and this is known as the infraorbital foramen. This is where the nerves come from for the control of the trunk. Humans have this as well. All of the vertebrates have this little.
But your giant mountain's not going to have this.
Notch, but it's placed differently in humans. Let's find it real quick.
It's right under your eye.
So you can see on humans, it's here. There it is, right there. There are 26 bones in the human head. I don't know how many are in the elephant's head, but all of those bones are connected by sutures, which are just areas where the bones eventually fuse together. So this is bigger on elephants because the nerve passing through here has to control the trunk, and its location is particularly interesting because it's right about there.
Okay. So let's get back to your mountain and show us where it is on there.
Completely different shape to the temporalis fossa. This is known as the zygomatic arch. There are two sutures here, so this is the first thing that would break off, and I believe that's what's happened when we see the mountain. You can kind of get a hint that maybe it was there.
No.
The tusks.
Do you see a zygomatic arch?
No.
I see, and there's not even a break in the layers that we're looking at there, but I think he's going to say this little hole in front of the eye is that nerve.
Well, I mean, even then, that's not a hole. That's just a little divot, and even so, it doesn't match what you're seeing in the fossils.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the skull, like the actual elephant's skull. Oh.
In mud and fossilized. And this really, when we're looking at Mudfossil, this is probably about the best picture I can find. You can barely make out the infraorbital foramen there, the eye socket. There, you can see the sutures for the zygomatic arch, and the big temporalis fossa. And that would be here.
Yeah, the big temporalis. Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say that, I mean, if he's saying that little divot in front of the eye, what he's calling the eye there is that that little socket for the nerve, then it kind of seems like, well, now he's saying that the skin wasn't petrified, at least not right below the eye. The skin just decomposed and it shows the hole. But then how do you explain the rest of this
because
mountain?
He's about to make claim that this is all soft tissue up here above the eye, saying that's all soft tissue, but this is bone down here, but it looks exactly the same. And there's, again, obvious erosion going on here, like rock erosion, and the grain of the rock is not going in the directions you would expect the tissue, the muscle, or the bone, for that matter, to be going in. And I hate to use the term grain because that's not the proper terminology. And I think Gorgie left, so I'm not going to get corrected, but I would like to use the right term if I could.
So let's take a look at that quickly.
Yeah, let's take a look at what you're.
The question is, how many coincidences?
Do you see how it's sloped up though? He said it's collapsed, but it looks very much like a solid slope to me.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Like, not like it's collapsed on itself, but I mean, I'm not a geologist again, so I just seeing what I see.
Does it take before there starts to be evidence? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Does it just look like an elephant?
Actual evidence is what's required.
A cave out there, that's just that's a coincidence. But then when you start to get things like cutouts on both sides, right where you would expect the neck. The eye has a cave right where you would expect.
Is it a cave or is it a divot?
Especially.
Is it a cave? That's the question.
Backwards, which it would have to if it was lying in this position. I've already hinted at it with the video list I gave you, but there's an ear as well. This would be an ear attachment. And there's even a cave in here, which I found
ear would be way
the most unusual way.
Up.
So I'll talk about that in the third video.
That's not an ear. That's not even big enough for a giant pachyderm's ear.
There are a dozen different quote-unquote coincidences about this eye. Which
it's not coincidence.
It's not an eye.
Well, yeah, exactly.
There are sutures. There are a number of different things. So it's the coincidences start stacking up.
That's the thing too. He keeps mentioning the sutures, but I don't see any sutures on here. The breaks I see are in geological layers. It looks like they're going in horizontal geological layers down through the mountain, not sutures, which we go different directions. The musculature, if this was preserved soft tissue, we would expect to see the musculature going in sort of a arcing pattern.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we're almost through the first video. We're 21 minutes and 40 seconds in. I don't know if we're going to move past this.
Start to have a possibility, a probability, and at what point does it become a preponderance of evidence? I know that Roger from Mudfossil University has done, I think, 3 different genetic tests based on different samples that he's found, and they've all come back with humanoid DNA. So one thing, here's another thing. If we're just going to
what the hell is humanoid DNA?
I don't know. He started talking about DNA tests, and they all came back humanoid. What is humanoid DNA?
Yeah, how do you define DNA as humanoid? That's bizarre. And because humanoid is not it's not a species, it's not a clade. Humanoid is I guess you'd call it a niche.
Right.
See all this red earth right here? Interesting. Here as well. What you find is that if you turn any stone over on this plateau, it is all bright red earth everywhere you look. And I think that this is the runoff of blood. And
well, blood doesn't stay red when it dries. It turns brown or black.
Right. Also, blood doesn't turn into like red clay or red earth or.
Yeah, he didn't even specify what kind of earth it was. He could have looked into that and said, "Hey, this is a clay or whatnot." That would have been helpful.
Turn shit over and it's red, therefore blood. Yo.
If the dirt is red, that means it's got blood in it. Excuse me.
I've got a video of those as well. Yeah, so I think that is a good introduction. So let me just look at my notes, see if I've forgotten anything. There are definitely some surprises that await, and if you stick with it, I think like me, you'll end up getting goosebumps on your heart and stuff.
Someone else sees the Cthulhu too. I thought it looked like Cthulhu, like an octopus.
Cthulhu, yeah. Yeah, I could see Cthulhu in that rock formation. I guess Cthulhu's real.
Yeah, Cthulhu's real. He's just dead and turned into a mountain.
Oh, obviously.
It doesn't have a trunk. But here, again, you see this infraorbital foramen, which I believe we have right here. And in fact, I'll do a little teaser right now, and we'll go in and look at a couple of the pictures here. This is the infraorbital foramen. very organic feel. The rock. We'll come back to this in the next video.
That looks like a chute, like where water flowed through to me. But
And this is mammoth once again. And this is what I was talking about with the sutures before. 26 bones in the human head. I would guess it's something similar because most of the vertebrate skeletons, even though there are a lot of variations when it comes to the morphology, the shape of them, more or less the structures are the same, and the kinds of bones that are found.
that is true. That's how we know common ancestry.
As well. Okay, so if you are looking for conclusive proof,
The
here it
fuck is this image?
Oh, there. Well, now I'm convinced. I was like, nah, but now I'm in.
He superimposed an elephant spraying water onto the mountain, and it's apparently spraying water on all the people.
That's awful white for water.
All right. I hope you enjoyed the video.
All right.
By the way,
Oh,
subscribe
okay.
and click the bell if you want to be notified for the next videos whenever.
No, I don't want to get notified for the next video. You are
52,000
this.
people. 52,000 people have watched that. Like,
right. That's the problem. That is why I share this stuff, because this is what people are buying into. That someone coming out here saying that mountains are giant elephants, and 52,000 people are digging on it. All right. I want to just pop out here and go through our side chat, okay? Let's see here. We got monorail. This person should go to the frozen peat bogs in Russia that have defrosted and actually revealed prehistoric animals. That is really cool. It seems like they're finding new stuff every couple of months, defrosting out of the permafrost. Let's see. If mountains have repeating triangular patterns due to weathering, then why is it always only on the side of the slopes opposing side in overlapping semicircles? I don't know if I understand that question.
I certainly don't understand the question. It's also it's more than likely out of my area of expertise.
Right. Oh, how far back am I going to go? I don't want to go too far back if we covered. There's a great fossil finding channel from Florida, mastodons, megalodon, and such. I always like going looking for fossils. Me and my son used to do that all the time. You ever take your kids fossil hunting?
No, not fossil hunting. But we did get those kits where you could dig for fossils.
Dig the stuff out of the chalk. Yeah.
It looks like rocks to me.
Yeah, I see a mastodon. Honestly, yeah, I would say it would look more like a mastodon than a mammoth, because it doesn't have that. Because mastodons had the sloping head like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mastodons were like the Neanderthals or Neanderthals. I almost said Neanderthals, like some kind of uncultured swine. I literally just saw the ISS fly over Michigan. Take that, Flare First. That's so cool, Maynard. I've seen the ISS a couple of times. I did see Starlink launch, though, and I didn't know what it was, so I was freaking out. Let's see. Never mind that it didn't calcify any other animals or humans or anything. Yep, just giant elephants specifically.
Right, it's super specific, but not even. It didn't even evenly calcify the supposed giant elephant, because there were select sections where apparently tissue was allowed to decompose, and then other sections where I guess it was just the skin or the internal organs that calcified.
Yeah. Native American cities were bigger than most European cities. Yeah, that's what I was talking about with Cahokia. It was like the capital of North America at the time. They traded with like the Mayan Empire and stuff. Pretty cool history down there. They find like Mayan relics in St. Louis. It's kind of funny to think about because they traded with them.
Yeah.
Damn, why are creationists always interested in what's between people's legs? Yeah, can we call it the elephant's butt crack? All right, let's see here. Snuffleupagus is a woolly marathon
Probably meant a mammoth.
woolly mammoth brought back through genetic modification. Is that Snuffleupagus? Is that canon? Is that Sesame
know.
Street canon? Tim Buck says this guy has way too many Vampire the Elephant books at home. Yeah, he's like really into this being. He doesn't seem like he understands elephant anatomy. He pulls up pictures of elephant anatomy and compares it to these mountains, and it's not there. The image that he's looking for is not there. Let's see. The skeleton shown is a cyclops. That proves the Iliad to be true. Now, if we're going to go off mythology, yes. Well, that would be important to show if the Bible did not give a usage definition for water, meaning people, multitudes of nations. Oh, Richard, I know you're getting into your alien stuff.
So Snuffleupagus is described as a giant anteater-like elephant creature without tusks or visible ears.
Yeah, so our mountain didn't have visible ears, so that's fitting. I'm thinking
Snuffleupagus confirmed.
That this is proof that Snuffleupagus once roamed the earth. When Snuffy roamed the earth.
Got it.
All right. Well, I think that's probably going to do it for tonight. What do you think? I
mean, yeah. I don't know how much. Like, I feel like everything else that he could say is just going to be a rehash of the first video, except with probably more specific pictures of it. So ultimately, I was not convinced by his quote unquote evidence whatsoever. Yeah. I think all of the inconsistencies and everything that he put forth is it doesn't support his conclusion. And so I'm not like, my area of expertise obviously is not geology or Titan biology, but
well, actually, I am a cryptozoologist, so I can claim that title because it doesn't mean jack. So I am a professional cryptozoologist.
Okay. But I feel like anybody with just a reasonable sense of they could just like literally look at pictures and compare them side by side. I feel like they would be able to figure out like, oh, one thing does not seem like another kind of thing. So I really don't think that you got to be like any kind of geologist or anything like that in order to not believe this bullshit idea.
Right. Yes, mountains are not elephants or fallen giants or tree stumps, because one thing can look like something else just means that physics has a similar reaction on materials. It's that's the bottom line of it. Whether it's bilaterally bisected or radial, it's gonna you're gonna have specific patterns that come from that. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody who dropped by to watch us dig for mud fossils. With the channel was Stellium 7. If you wanted to check out any more of their videos and have some good laughs about mud fossils, that's what I like to do. I like to torture myself with this stuff, and I like to bring my friends along. So thank you so much for joining me, John. I know it was short notice, so I appreciate you having the time to come on.
Oh, I really appreciate being invited on, and I mean I've enjoyed going through this firsthand with you. So thank you so much for that.
Yep. All right. Everybody have a good night. Just remember to be kind and take care.